We're in Masechet Pesachim, Perek Zayin, 7th chapter, 13th Mishnah. Last Mishnah on this chapter. Let's do the introduction first. כתוב אחד אומר בעניין אכילת פסח, there's a verse discussing of eating the Pesach sacrifice. This is a verse in Shmot. It says like this: על הבתים אשר יאכלו אותו בהם. So over there it discusses that you have to spread the blood on the doorpost, on the lintel, on the doors that you eat the Pesach sacrifice, on the houses that you eat the Pesach sacrifices in them. And it says batim lashon rabim, many houses. So we have one verse that says in how many houses you're allowed to eat the Pesach sacrifices? Batim. Al batim asher yochlu oto bahem. Wait, what does it say? Al batim. The verse says on the houses. So over here, from here we learn how many houses can you eat? Many. More. At least two. Maybe more than two. וכתוב אחד אומר, and then there's another verse that says בבית אחד יאכל. In one house you should eat it. So it says now you have two verses. One says you're allowed to eat it in many houses, and the other one says that you have to eat it in one house. So what are you going to do? So the Resh Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda is going to learn. He has to make sense of these two verses. So what is Rabbi Yehuda going to say? שהכתוב הראשון בא ללמד. It says batim. You know why in plural? What does it come to teach you? שהפסח נאכל בשתי חבורות. That you're allowed to eat the Pesach in two groups. What does it mean? כלומר, שלכתחילה קודם שיושבים לאכול, that before the two groups are starting to sit down to eat, מותר לבני החברה שנמנו על הפסח להתחלק לשתי חבורות. You take one sheep, you take half the sheep to your house, I take half the sheep to my house, we're going to eat half of my sheep in my house, you're going to eat half of your sheep in your house. שכל אחד תאכל בבית אחר. That each one has to be eaten, can be eaten in a different house. So in other words, Rabbi Yehuda learns, why did they say batim? That they don't all have to eat that one sacrifice in one place. You can divide it into 10 houses. Every house is going to take this Pesach sacrifice to his house, and all these people are going to eat it in that house. So that's what he learns.
2 houses, it doesn't say 10.
But you can. The logic says as many as you want. But it says batim, yeah. והפסוק השני בא ללמד שאסור לאדם לאחד לאכול בשתי חבורות. So what do you need the second verse? The second verse is that once you eat in one group a Pesach of the one sacrifice in that particular house, now you're not allowed to go and eat some more in the other house. So it says you have to eat it. If once you sit down, that's where you have to eat it. You started eating it in this house, that's it. You have to finish it in this house. You're not allowed to partake of the other Pesach sacrifice in some other house. וכן אסור לחבורה אחת לאכול בשתי מקומות. And also what you're not allowed to do is to one group to split out into two groups. Which means, כלומר שבאותו מקום שמתחילים לאכול את הפסח חייבים לגמור שם. At the place you started eating the Pesach sacrifices, yeah, you cannot say, hey, there's too many people over here, right? Let's go to the neighbor. And we're going to open up another thing with the neighbor. No, you started to eat in this room, you have to finish eating in this room. ואסור לאכול מקצתו בבית זה ומקצתו בבית זה. Even if you're taking your own steak, you're not going to eat the other steak, even though it's from the same Pesach sacrifice. You're taking your steak, you're not allowed to move. Yeah? So there's two things. First of all, you're not allowed to partake of the other guy's steak in the other house, even though it's the same Pesach sacrifice. You split it into two. And even if you're going to take your own steak into the other house, into the other guy's house, you're still not allowed to finish eating it in the other house.
So technically, how does it work? You go to Beit HaMikdash, you do the Korban Pesach, you get your piece of whatever meat, Korban Pesach, steak.
No.
You take it home.
No. You take the whole sheep back home.
They don't cut it there.
Nothing.
You take the whole sheep back
You
home.
cook the whole sheep at home.
You slit it.
The whole sheep, and then you divide it into the families.
Then you cut. Okay.
Yeah. ומקצתו בבית אחר. So this is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon is going to disagree. אמנם רבי שמעון חולק על רבי יהודה ודורש בדרך אחרת. Rabbi Shimon is going to disagree. He's going to learn, why does it say 2 and 1? In a different way. You can look at Gemara Pesachim. But we're not going to deal with Rabbi Shimon because this Mishnah Rabbi Yehuda wrote. So we're not concerned about Rabbi Shimon. But just that you know, there's another opinion. אבל משנתנו כדת רבי יהודה היא, our Mishnah is going to go according to רבי יהודה, והיא באה ללמד בשתי חברות האוכלות פסח אחד בבית אחד כיצד הן נוהגות. It's going to discuss what do you do in these particular circumstances.
Which one?
I'll tell you which one. Me, my family, and Kevin's family decided to do Pesach. But we don't share in the same Pesach sacrifice. In other words, it's not the same sheep. He's a guest by me. I invited...
You have to bring the sheep. Or you have to...
Wait. He's a guest by me. But he doesn't want to eat my sacrifice. He has his own guys. He's eating it with his own guys. He's not going to share my Pesach sacrifice. But he's going to eat in my house.
You can't.
Why?
Because you have to share it with the other people that you belong to.
But so
That's what you said.
No, we say that he can take the Pesach sacrifice and eat it wherever he wants. You can split the Pesach sacrifice with the other guys.
But you have to eat it with chavura, no?
It says each one in his own house can do it, right?
Okay.
You can split. So he and his sons, he gets the 5 steaking for him and his sons and his wife. Yeah, he's got all the steaks coming up, and he's going to eat it in my house. He's not going to eat it in their house. He's allowed to eat it in a different house, right?
No, that I understood.
How did we say?
You have to belong to your chavura in order to eat it in your...
Nobody is in my chavura. My house is empty. He's taking.
Who you belong to?
Him.
Belong with who? You have to have 30 people at least.
He's got 100 people. What do I care? He gets his 4 steaks and he goes home.
But with who? You have to have a chavura.
He's got his 3 sons. He's got 3 steaks. He doesn't need more than the 3 steaks.
But the shchita is only the 30 people? Or
Yeah.
after you can...
No. Only 30 people. That's it.
That's what I don't understand.
The shchita is 30 people. 3 out of the 30 are going to split into different houses. 27 are going to be in one house, and he's going to be with his sons in another house. He's allowed to. We said, according to Rabbi Yehuda, he's allowed to.
But I thought that he said in the beginning that you can't take
That's what I
a different
understood.
sacrifice to a different house.
That's what I understood.
If you're eating... No. Let's go through the details again. If I take a Pesach sacrifice, right? There's 30 people share. The 30 people are allowed to split into 2 groups and eat it in 2 houses.
Okay.
Once your group are eating in your house, started eating in your house, after they started eating, they're not allowed to go to another house, to the other group to eat it. They have an option. They can stay with the 30 groups, with the 30 people, and eat it all together with them.
Or go to another.
Or they can go to another house and make another group. But with the same guys with the Pesach sacrifice. They have to take pieces out of the meat,
right,
bring it to the house, and eat it together in another group.
They just can't start eating in the oven.
That's right. If they started eating, that's it.
But if you didn't eat there, then you can...
Excellent. So he can come to my house and eat it. I'm not in the house, right?
According to your logic,
Yeah, according to what we said. Next comes another problem. He's a guest by my house. He doesn't have any room over there. So he's going to say, I'm going to eat it with my family at Rami's house. But me, I have another Pesach sacrifice with another 30 kids, with another 30 people. So in the same room, there's going to be a problem now. There's going to be 2 Pesach sacrifices that are going to be eaten in the same room with 2 tables. His table is eating his Pesach sacrifice over there, and me and my family are eating my Pesach sacrifice mother. So now it's going to discuss this problem. What do we do?
You can't share them.
We can't share them, yeah. שתי חבורות, so we have 2 groups, שהיו אוכלות פסח אחד בבית אחד. that would eat one Pesach in one house. I think it's a mistake when it says Pesach Echad. Does it say Pesach Echad by you also?
One Korban Pesach in the same house.
Okay.
A little bit different from what we said.
Yeah, it's a little bit. If it's,
That may come later.
it doesn't make sense at all. There's no question. If there's two groups that eat two Pesachim, the same Pesach, there's no problem. Exactly. If they're eating the same Pesach, let them eat.
Sit together.
Yeah, they sit together and they eat. It's not. It's a mistake.
Must be a difference.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake. Yeah, I think it's a mistake in the writing, but I'm not sure. We will see soon. Pesach, the two groups that would eat בבית אחד, כגון בעולם אחד, they eat in one room. אלו הופכים את פניהם הילך. This one, they should not look at each other while eating. This one should look this way. ואוכלים, ואלו הופכים את פניהם הילך ואוכלים. And this one should look at the other side. In the other side, they should not intermingle at all. They should sit back to back. So they're not going, that you can see this is two.
Separation.
In other words, that there's two sacrifices.
Different guys.
Two different sacrifices. That's it. And I think that's why it's wrong that they eat פסח אחד. כלומר, שאינם צריכים לכוון פניהם לזה, כדי שנראים כחבורה אחת. Oh, maybe we are mistaken. So let's redo it. The eating, they don't need to look at each other Okay, so let's redo the whole thing. They're right, it's Pesach Echad. In other words, they're eating one Pesach, one korban, but they're going to look like they're eating two korbans. In other words, they're going to have two tables and they're going to be separated. And he says, you don't have to worry about it. It can look like they're eating separated korbans at the same house, even though they're eating the same korban. That's what he's saying. Okay? It's probably going to... אלא אם רצו מותרים הם להפוך את פניהם אלו לכאן ולכאן. But they're allowed to change their faces to this and this. In other words, it doesn't need to look like they're one group. They can look like they're in two different groups. שהרי הפסח נאכל אף בשתי חבורות. Because like we mentioned, you're allowed to eat the Pesach sacrifices in two groups.
Right.
Yeah, so therefore they're allowed to eat it in two groups. It says don't make them sit together. They don't have to. כמו שביארנו לדיד. בא והמיחם באמצע. And they can even, in other words, you have over here, you know what the case is? Okay, I'll give you the case. The case is you have a big hall. Exactly. You have like a restaurant. And in a Pesach program, very good. And in a Pesach program, you have different tables that they took from the same sheep. They took the Pesach. They were all this restaurant are using one sheep. Yeah? But they want to eat it in a different groups. In different groups. I want to eat it. Give me my steaks. Give me this guy's giving me my steak, and this one giving me my steaks. They're eating like this. Okay. This is the case. Now, so they are eating, each one is only allowed now to eat their steaks once they're eating it. In other words, we're going to look at the tables, we're going to consider that every table is a different house. Which looks like this is what's going to happen. You eat your steaks, but don't come into my area and eat my steak because you separated it into different tables. If you didn't separate it into different tables, you all sit over one big table, then you're fine. Everybody can take whatever meat they want. But now that you separated it, you took it to your own, it's like you're making different houses. So every table now has to finish his own steaks and don't come and intermingle. But you know what can intermingle? The other food. The steaks are the Pesach sacrifice you have to eat on your own, but the other sacrifices you can intermingle with. For example, והמיחם באמצע. You have the hot food, the hot wine, in the middle. נוהגים היו לערב את ינם במים חמים. There was a custom to mix the wine with hot water, because the wine was very strong at those times. ובא המשנה ללמד, and the Mishnah comes to teach, שהמחם שמחממו את המים מותר לתנוע באמצע. So even though the stakes are not shared, the other, for example, the water can be shared בין שתי החבורות. כדי שיהיה נוח לשתיהם ליטול ממנו מים למזיגת ינם. So they can share other foods, or other water, or other wine, other things, but they cannot share the stakes. ואף על פי שמפסיק בין שני חבורות, אין בכך כלום. And even though it looks like there's a separation, because this one goes like this one, and this one, don't worry about. But in the two groups, there are some people who are going now in the restaurants. Forget it, it's not a restaurant, it's a house with a lot of things. There's people, not everybody gets up the chair and brings the food, right? So somebody gets up, and so it probably is going to be the same guy who helps this table is going to serve also this table.
The cook for here maybe, or who knows?
It's already cooked.
It's already cooked.
Okay.
Okay.
But somebody needs to bring the food into the table. Yeah. וכשהשמש המשבש שתי חבורות. And when the shamash, the guy who's serving between the two groups, עומד למזוג, he's going to come and pour some wine. He pours the wine into the cups. כלומר שהתחיל לאכול את הפסח עם חבורה אחת. But if this guy he started already eating the Pesach sacrifices with one group, והוא עומד עכשיו תוך אכילתו למזוג את היין במים חמים ולהגישו לחבורה אחרת, and his job is to serve the other guys in the other table. So what does he need to do? He says, we're afraid that he's going to go into the other table and he's going to start eating the steaks in the other table. Yeah? He's eating, he's in the middle, he's talking, it's like, so we tell him, so that you remember that you're not allowed to eat the steak on the other table. What do you need to do? קופץ את פיו, go like this. Remember, go like this. So that something is going to remind you you're not allowed to eat from that table. סוגר את פיו, you have to close your mouth, ואינו בולע אפילו מה שבתוך פיו. And if he has something in his mouth, don't swallow it while you're around the table of the other things, because then you're participating. It looks like in that meal. שלא ייראה כאוכל כלל בזמן שהוא משמש את החבורה האחרת. So that people are going to think that you're jumping from group to group. And that's not allowed. שאם לא כן, נמצא אוכל בשתי חבורות. And not only that, הוא מחזיר את פניו כלפי חבורתו. And when you pour the wine like this. So that everybody can see you don't belong to that. Yeah? שלא יחשדו בני חבורתו שהוא אוכל מחבורה אחרת. In other words, look at your group all the time in the eyes, so that they'll recognize that you're not with them, because otherwise they will think that you're eating with them now.
I will take duct tape and put it in his mouth.
שאסור לאדם לאכול בשתי חבורות. The person is not allowed to eat in two groups. עד שמגיע אצל חבורתו ואוכל, until he starts serving his group, and then once he starts serving his group, then he can start eating. כלומר, שנוהג כאן עד שחוזר לחבורתו, ואז הוא אוכל את מה שבפיו. So this is the custom until he comes back to his group. והקלה, this is something that today people don't even have a clue. So let me explain just a little bit.
Why?
Yeah, the modesty rules changes within the nations and within time. Even today, if you go to very religious places, you've got people who can't even fathom to eat in a restaurant. Why? Because you can't even think about it. So it's out. Why? Because it's not modest. It's not nice. They feel weird. They feel uncomfortable eating when there's many people around. It's like almost think about it. Today we became so coarse. We became so grob. We don't even have those feelings. It's not exactly the same idea, but it's the same idea. Is you're not going to go to the bathroom in front of other people. You're not going to eat in front of other people. People were sensitive to eating.
People don't like to eat falafel and eat the religious people.
Yeah, it was something you do in your hands. It's something you keep to yourself. Especially when you have a new bride. A new bride might be eating next to her family. She eats next to her family, okay, because she's used to them. But now she's a kala. Means that she just was introduced to the father-in-law, the mother-in-law. She's going to be embarrassed eating in front of them. So the custom was that, she will go to she will not eat in front of the people. She will go look this, so that nobody can see that she eats it because it's so okay. So this is the next the idea. Just have it in mind that the kala. Today it's hard to think about it, but that's the way it was. והכלה and the bride, שהיא בושה לאכול בפני הכל, that she is embarrassed to eat in front of people, because it's an embarrassment act, הופכת את פניה ואוכלת. So she is allowed to look like she's in another group. In other words, she is looked like she's in a different group, but she's allowed to. So don't bother her. She is allowed to. רשאית להפוך את פניה לצד אחד, she is allowed to turn her face to one side, ולאכול, and to eat. ואין זה נחשב שינוי מקום אכילתה. And we're not going to say it looks like she's eating in a different group. אף על פי שאכלה מקצת הסעודה בלא הפיכת פנים. Even though that some of the meal she eats this way, and some of the meal she eats that way, it looks strange. ויש מפרשים, there are those who explain, שאומנם אדם אחר אסור להפוך פניו לאכול. But somebody else, you're not allowed to start separating from everybody else. שגוזרים בו משום שינוי מקום. That we say this is not allowed. אבל בכלה הקלו מפני בושתה. But with a new bride, we make it permissible to her because she's so embarrassed to eat in front of other people. Okay. באנו את הרישא של משנתנו לפי רש"י. We explained the beginning of the Mishnah according to Rashi. And it's Pesach אחד. They didn't make a mistake. Yeah. וכן פירש הרב מברטנורה, and also the Rav in Bartenura explained the same way. אבל הרמב"ם פירשה בדרך אחרת. The Rambam explains this Mishnah differently. שכן הוא כותב, the Rambam writes, שתי חבורות שהיו אוכלות בבית אחת. He says, two groups that used to sit in the same house, צריכה כל חבורה מהם לעשות לה היקף. שנאמר מן הבשר חוצה. They need to designate a specific area. Yeah? מפי השמועה למדו שצריך ליתן לו חוצה למקום אכילתו. In other words, you're not allowed to mingle into the other group. You have to see that it's two different groups. Yeah. Like an area, you can see that two different areas. ואלו הופכים את פניהם מלח ואוכלים, ואלו הופכים את פניהם מלח ואוכלים. And it's not like we say that you're allowed to face each other. They say they have to face away from each other. So everybody can see that it's two groups. כדי שלא ייראו מעורבים. So that they're not going to be seen mixed. כלומר, שלפי דברי הרמב"ם, according to the Rambam, הפירוש של משנתנו הוא, the explanation for the Mishnah, שהואיל ושתי החברות אוכלות בבית אחת, that since the two groups are eating in one house, אינם רשאים לשב אלו כנגד אלו. They're not allowed to face each other, אלא צריכים הם להפוך את פניהם. They have to give the backs to each other. אלו לכאן ואלו לכאן. This one way and the other one's the other way. כדי שלא נראים כחבורה אחת, so that they're not going to look like one group. ויש מפרשים הטעם, כדי שלא נראה כאילו חברה אחת אוכלת משל חברתה. And if they're going to look at each other, people are going to think maybe they're eating from each other's food, and not allowed. Okay.